Most traditional notions of the blind seem to have a negative bend. The perceptions of majority of sighted persons of the blind are that of a poor, dirty and hungry person depending on charity for survival. These perceptions perhaps stem from the fact that majority of the visually impaired that the sighted come across are by the roadside begging for alms. Indeed, people who are blind are more vulnerable to social and cultural exclusion and do not have the same opportunities as the general population to accrue assets and income. Karni is a village near Jirapa in the Jirapa-Lambusie district in the Upper West region of Ghana. The village is located in one of the most deprived areas of the country. Poverty in the area is manifested in several ways, including unacceptably low household incomes and in such factors as unemployment, underemployment, and lack of health care, among others. What has perhaps worsened the situation in the village is the unusual large populace of visually impaired in the area. Blindness and poverty are strongly related. Living in poverty is not just about lack of money. It can also mean feeling isolated, powerless, and discriminated against. However, against all odds, the blind population in Karni has managed, through ADRA Ghana and its funding agency, the USAID, risen above their disability. Determined to overcome the challenges presented by their blindness, they have strived to achieve equity and equality in their society. The blind people in Karni came together and appealed to ADRA Ghana for assistance to go into farming, just as ADRA has done for their sighted counterparts. At the rehabilitation center at Karni, ADRA first took them through a series of training exercises, both theoretical and practical, for the challenges they intend to embark upon. Among other things, they were taken through an overview of food security, the role or impact the visually impaired has on agriculture, methods in land preparation, and the visually impaired skills delivery system.
You were once farming before becoming blind. The essence and the role that you are playing is telling us that to go back and pick up farming as a means of earning an income and feeding your families, your siblings, and maybe pay for other health needs. Your role is also to increase your nutritional balance in your family and that of others. Your value or your role in the country in agriculture is highly noticed. At the same time, it raises the morale of a blind person or a visually impaired person. Like people say, oh, look at the way this person who is even blind, look at the way he's farming. Look at the way he's producing. Look at the way, then that one, it gives you some kind of prestige and you feel proud. And you say that, yes, I know I'm doing something in my community and for that matter, in my district and for the nation as a whole.
Other topics treated during the initial training exercise also include soya cultivation and its importance, moringa and mango cultivation, the visually impaired in income-generating activities, especially dry season gardening, livestock, and tree planting.
You know that soya has several uses, and it is very important in the life of the individual. First of all, soya is a protein crop. It provides the body with protein. It's about second in the quantity of protein that is got from other sources like meat. It ranks about second in its protein content. Now, soya has also got oil, which is also used by individuals. Its debris are used as compost for farming. Soya has also got certain nodules in the roots that is able to attract the nitrogen in the air to fix it in the soil for the next cropping season. So when soya fixes nitrogen, you can rotate and use either maize or sorghum to plant on the same field and get a higher yield.
Even though the request for assistance came from individual blind people, ADRA still had to seek the consent of the family members. The first step taken by ADRA during the initial request was to visit the homes of all the 20 client farmers. In each home, ADRA Ghana's representative held a mini conference with the family of the applicant, and when consent was given, the applicant was enrolled and asked to attend the initial training at the local rehabilitation center. And the fact that people who are blind are disadvantaged in the workforce, ADRA Ghana and its funding agency, the USAID intervention, has come as a blessing to these vulnerable people. ADRA Ghana's next move was to seek permission from Karni, the traditional ruler of Karni, for permission to establish itself in the area.
And that program is targeting the resource poor farmers, particularly people who are disabled blind farmers.
It is not their wish that God has made them like that. It is through this poverty, ignorance, and sometimes natural disease that has crippled a lot of them. And some of them we don't know, others we know. So, and I hope you people, that is you, the NGOs, will help us to an extent so that to place them at a position where they can get their normal daily bread to eat.
We thank you very much for accepting us into the community, and we promise to do our best with funding from USAID to implement whatever activities that are needed to be done.
People who are blind have restricted access to community infrastructure and resources. They are also disproportionately affected by unemployment. These and many other reasons might have been the contributing factors forcing the hands of ADRA Ghana to accept this vulnerable group as client farmers.
As a religious or faith-based NGO, our concern has been to help all people, irrespective of ethnicity, disability, race, or class. But traditionally, we have been working with sighted people and other able-bodied people. But our work in the Jirapa Lambusi district introduced us to the blind people. We noticed quite a number of them are in that area. And these blind people also applied to ADRA along with their able-bodied counterparts for us to assist them. Initially, we were a bit hesitant, and we couldn't easily think of training a blind person to farm. But further contacts with the Department of Social Welfare convinced us that it was possible. And so together with the Department of Social Welfare, we organized training for the blind people. We have 20 farmers, 20 visually impaired people who form one group. And this is the only visually impaired or blind farmers group that we have among the 14,000 farmers we are working with in this country.
For ADRA and USAID, we do not discriminate between personalities, whether in the vulnerable, the non-vulnerable, men, women, the physically challenged, and so on. We do not discriminate. Once you qualify with the basic selection criteria, that is, you should have land of your own, you should be prepared to work in a group, you should be prepared to go by the rules and the regulations that are set up in the group, and you should be credit worthy. Once you qualify in this, you are selected.
By practice, ADRA takes on client farmers in groups of 20. However, by its magnanimity, ADRA always opens its training exercises to non-client blind people in the Karni traditional area. The non-client blind people in the area have therefore taken the opportunity to avail themselves of the training. The normal provision of information in visual forms means that people who are blind do not receive essential political and socio-economic information. ADRA Ghana has therefore not relented in its efforts to give continuous education and training to this particular client farmers. An important aspect of the training is orientation and mobility techniques.
When we are doing a training like this, a capacity training like this, we try to introduce those skills that can easily send them with their guys to the field. So one of the techniques we are just going to introduce is the certain guide technique. And the first thing we do is the contact. The client should know that there is a term known as contact. After the contact, we have what we call the grip. And after the grip, we have what we call the movement. We do this. This is a universal term for all blind people in the world. Then you move. Then in this term, you and the client can go to the farm very fast. When you are turning, you turn this way. You see, the client will never have any problem. You can continue turning and turning and turning. He feels comfortable. So far as the grip is there.
ADRA, in collaboration with SARI, CSIR, have access to improved seeds. And some of these improved seeds are Anidaso, Salintua 1 and Salintua 2, Kwashe, and Janguma of late. These are some of the seeds that we supply to our client farmers, and that is what they are growing at this moment.
SARI developed a variety that we call Janguma. Janguma is in one of the languages, Lobi language, which means that wait for me. In other words, so that particular variety is ready to wait for you until you have done whatever you want to do and come to harvest it. So it is a non-shattering variety. One of the other new sessions that we have, new variety that we have released, we named it after our former director, Mr. Kwashi. Kwashi is an early maturing one, and therefore suited to the dry areas of the two upper regions.
The training of the blind farmers, therefore, is not limited to the rehabilitation center. The group of 20 is taken to the field for practical training, and here, land preparation is the first exercise. Most of these people were farmers before becoming blind, so they are taught the skills needed by the blind to farm, but not how to read. Determined to overcome their disability, the group of 20 never toys with the lessons being imparted to them. They know that their future and that of their children are in their own hands.
As they are visually impaired, the base tab have to be correct.